I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Johnson County Council on June 9th, 2025. The time is 6:00 p.m. Amy Thompson, would you care to do the roll call, please?
Shelley Grace.
Here.
Jonathan Myers.
Here.
Melinda Griesemer.
Here.
John Mallard.
Here.
Ian Burton. John Dittmers.
Here.
Ron Reese.
Present.
Do we have Pam online?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I've asked Mr. Bates to lead us in prayer. Pray with us if you care to.
And stand with me if you care to. Father, we're thankful for your goodness to us as always. Thank you for our country, for our Constitution. Thank you for our state and all those that represent it. We pray for our president at this time and for all that's happening there in California. And you would overshadow that and may peace be restored. We pray also, of course, for, again, our governor here in our state and for those who advise him. Lord, we pray for elected officials in our county, many across the state, municipalities and towns and cities. Pray for our own elected officials here, our commissioners, our judges. May they judge in justice. And we pray, Lord, that what we do here tonight have you in mind as far as making decisions based on righteousness and what is best in your eyes. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. At this point in our meeting, this is the time for public comments. We ask for agenda items only, and we are limiting that to 5 minutes per person. What did I say?
Number 4.
Approve the agenda.
Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. My first time to lead. We need to approve tonight's agenda. We do have 2 items to add, if you will. Under E, old and new business. E2, we need to add update on the opioid advisory board grant program. Then we also need to add under E, it would be E3, special meeting to receive an update of the fiscal plan /2026 budget from Mike Reuter. And I would entertain a motion for that
Move
agenda.
to approve as amended.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, public comments. Agenda items only, and we ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes per person. Seeing none, we'll move on to routine matters consent agenda. By a single motion, the board approves the following items, which may include salary ordinance amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. Any items listed on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member and moved to the regular agenda.
I move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Jonathan T. Myers, a second from Ron Bates. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to item C, salary ordinance amendments, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. Looks like up first is the juvenile community corrections.
Hello, Damon Cox, Assistant Director for Juvenile Community Corrections.
For item C1, we are simply appropriating the funds that we received from a grant that's managed through Firefly and the Department of Child Services.
So you're just asking to appropriate money from a grant that you've received the funds for?
Correct.
And
We have not received, it's a reimbursable grant, so we haven't received the funds yet, but
Okay,
Yes.
I understand.
And is this also to include number 2, general juvenile?
it is related to C2. So with that, because the state reduced funding and grants that they distribute out, our grant that we received was also reduced. We went from $35,654 down to $25,000. This grant pays for a salary, so in order to make up for what that difference is for the remainder of the year, we'll ask for an additional appropriation.
So are you wanting to take C1 and C2 together?
I can't say that, but it's up to I'm not sure how if we can do this together.
So just to be clarified in my mind, that 4552 amount is to make up for a shortfall from the grant to hit the salary number that's committed?
Correct, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve C1 and C2 together, the Family Resource in Education 9144 and the General 1001-0213 Juvenile Corrections. That's my motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Melinda Griesmers, a second by John Dittmers. Is there further discussion? I did have one comment on C2, and I talked with Lori Myers about this. I gave her a call. And my concern is that the ask for the additional appropriation out of the general fund is coming because a grant that we're used to receiving was reduced it by a dollar amount of almost $5,000.
Correct.
And so the general fund needs to make up that additional, that deficit. And I did mention to Lori that, I have some concerns from that as a council member that moving forward, we may see a lot of our grants start to be reduced. And just wanted to ask that everyone be mindful of that and look within your own budgets and look within ways to organize and manage your staff better so that we don't see a big strain on the general fund. And Lori and I had a very productive conversation, and I just wanted to state that for the record. So with the motion from Melinda and a second from John, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C3, I think you're still
I
here.
am. For C3, it is simply appropriating the money that we received from the Indiana Department of Correction Division of Youth Services for a fiscal grant to start July 1, 2025 and end June 30, 2026. This is the same dollar amount that we received in the past, for the past several years.
I would entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve C3, account 9175 as presented on the agenda.
Second.
A motion from Melinda Griesmer, a second by Jonathan T. Myers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Health Department.
Good evening. I'm Paul Haas, the attorney for the Health Department. Jeff Qualls couldn't make it, so he asked if I could fill in. He couldn't find someone to cover his shift. Basically, the request before you is to add an additional amount to facilitate a change in the position, the amount paid for Elizabeth Swearingen. But as a precursor to that, I'd like to indicate that they are definitely going to be separated, two positions. The emergency preparedness coordinator, it's a public health. I always get that one wrong, but Public Health Preparedness Coordinator. They're going to be separated. Timing was a big question. Several people asked that at that one meeting. As soon as possible, but most definitely by the end of the year. It's going to have to be posted, of course, but they believe that it is fillable. There are going to be people that are interested in it, and therefore that's should be done, and it will be done. That will involve a separation, of course, as that position is advertised. In addition, then the request is that the amount payable for her position as director, although it's a combined position right now, be the same amount as shown in the Wagner-Irwin-Shealy letter of April 8th, whereby it said a health director alone had a midpoint salary of $99,369.13. That's the midpoint for that position alone. And so the request is for an amount, as you can see from the document I know you've seen, to allow an additional appropriation of $4,892 to allow for, from this point forward to the end of the year, that amount to be payable at that rate. Again, that's the midpoint, $99,369.13, as shown in that April 8th document that you had from the last meeting. So that's the request. We're trying to accommodate, and they are accommodating the separation as you've requested, collectively requested at least. And in the meantime, she is going to be serving and is serving and fulfilling the duties of both positions until that person is hired.
So, in the request, it states that, it is the intention of the board to separate these positions, and you stated that here tonight as well. How is this PHPC position currently, how are you trying to currently fill that position? What steps have been taken?
They've put out feelers, but I'm not familiar with the extent to it, but the feeling is that there will be people interested in the position. And so it has to be posted, and I believe, I'll defer to Tiffany on this, but it's, I think for 30 days, it's got to be open and after posting to see what applicants there are. But the definite intent is this is going to be done as soon as possible, but no doubt before the end of the year.
I have been approached by a possible candidate who's interested in applying. If anyone in the county is interested, how would you suggest they make that known?
I would say to Jeff Qualls, or somebody got a hold of me, I'd get a hold of Dr. Qualls. So Dr. Qualls would be a good place, but naturally, I would naturally be happy to be a conduit to that person as well.
Well, I'm a little confused. I mean, it was Betsy who came to us on her own accord asking for us to approve of her to hire somebody. And we supported that decision. And we're still talking about it. I mean, I guess I don't understand why this wasn't done a long time ago when she first approached us.
Honestly, I'm not familiar when you're saying she approached you, because I didn't know that. In fact, at that one meeting, I think it was presented as a combined position, so I apologize for not.
No, she came to the council and we had to vote on it. She came by herself and asked for authorization to hire another part-time person. And we said, sure, yeah, we voted and supported that decision. And then it wasn't done.
Was it a part-time person, or are you talking about someone to fill the position of the emergency or the public health preparedness coordinator? Was it just a position? If it was a position, I don't have any knowledge about that, but that I did not know if she was proposing that position be filled, because my understanding was not ever that case.
Tiffany, you wanted to say?
Do you have a date or something that you're referencing?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you have a date or something that you're referencing? When did this happen? And we can, look, I don't know what you're referring to, I guess.
She came to the council.
When?
Would have been during budget hearings?
Are you talking
No,
about
no.
this year, last year?
All my meetings are I don't have the data, I'm sorry.
So I guess it probably, you have to look into it.
We'll have to look into that, but, yeah.
My guess is it was a different position, but I can't say that's the case. This is a
You remember what it was, John?
specific position.
I don't.
It might
But
have,
this goes to the trouble and the difficulty that we're having as a council, because we're addressing positions, and that's what we do. We address positions and job descriptions and things of that nature. I don't like doing that so much. I prefer that the department head handles all that, but it comes before us. And then in this case, we're being asked more or less to evaluate a person for these numbers and match them up. And that's not what we do as a council. And I apologize to all those, and it's a bit unfortunate that it's landed in council's lap, but this is where it is. I don't believe it's our responsibility to determine who is in what position. It is up to us to determine the position and then set the salary for that, and based on a job description and based on all the information that we receive. So, and there's a reason for that. As a council, that keeps us separate from that personal side of it. But everyone up here, that's why we're here. We're here for the personal side of it. But the law determines that we don't.
Right.
Well, so just to be clear, I agree with you that your job is different than they do. They did choose to join the two positions, and then the council determined, here's where you're going to be. It's not going to be up here. Obviously, that pushes this towards it need to be separated. So it seems to me the separation was to follow the wishes of the majority of the board that they should be separated, maybe even all of the board, but the timing wasn't very quick. So the point is, we agree with you now. Maybe we agreed anyways, but maybe a different timing. It's going to be done. It's going to be done by the end of the year. So what this request is, though, is that, yes, she is serving two positions. She's not asking for pay for two positions. We are not asking for pay for two positions. We're asking for the pay, a midpoint of just the one position, midpoint of the WIS, I guess it is pronounced, in the letter that they provided. So
I want to make sure I give Pam Burton a chance to speak. She is attending the meeting on Zoom. Pam, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I was confused on what Melinda was referencing. Looking back through past notes, so I don't know what she was referencing. And as far as us allowing the position to be combined, we did, or the prior council did, prior to us. But from what I understand, and legal can correct me if I'm wrong, this was discovered, this is an illegal process. We cannot pay a salaried employee an hourly rate or a rate from a grant. So it wasn't like the council said, oh, we're not going to do this anymore. It was pointed out that we legally cannot do it. So that's what brought it to the forefront. In the years past, this had been discussed a couple of times, but it was never pushed to the point that it is now. So from what I understand, what the request is you're asking that the health director position be increased to X amount of dollars, which would be the midpoint of suggested for next year's budget, because she has for many years held two positions and was paid a full salary for both. And you're going to separate the jobs no later than the beginning of the year. So am I clear on that's what the ask is? And just wanted to state that that's where we were and this is how we got here. So my vote is going to be, as it always has been from day one in last year's budget, and it may not be the popular vote, but my vote will be that the director's salary does not get changed, or the director's position, until budget time, when everyone else's salary gets reevaluated. Now, I understand their position is, well, she is doing the suggestional job. Yes, she is, and she's done a phenomenal job. And I do see where you're coming from, but I also don't think in order, two wrongs don't make a right. I think the jobs should be separated, and I think the pay should be separated, and I don't think we can increase the health department director's salary because she's doing another job that she can't get paid for. So that's just my opinion, but in case I'm looking at something wrong, I'm open to listen to what anyone else has to say.
I gotta say, I agree with Pam. I mean, initially, obviously, based on last meeting, I don't, her combined salary should have been reduced. That aside, it was. So, going forward, I don't think since 88 or whatever, 88,000 is her current salary, I think we should wait till the budget time comes around to make a change. So I agree with Pam in that regard, that at this point, I disagree with what's happened, but it's happened. Two wrongs don't make a right. Therefore, at least in my opinion, if we're going to make a change, I think it needs to be made at budget time.
With all due respect, and I have great respect for all of you for serving, I think this is a very unique situation whereby the income which was being paid went way down. And then we learned that and this is just the midpoint, I would submit that if one was analyzing for the health director alone, her skill, her knowledge, her many years would be higher than that midpoint. But right now, she's doing both, and she's not even getting the midpoint.
No, I understand.
So I think it's a unique situation where they were combined, and now goes down to whatever that other number was. I think it was 89 perhaps or something
No,
like that.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree that it shouldn't have been reduced last month, but it was. Going forward, 99, when budget time comes around, after Senate Bill 1, we haven't even had our meeting with our financial analyst yet. I don't know if 99 would be something that we could even do. So I just can't make that decision now. We might get there in August or September, October, but as of right now, that's an uncertainty. So I just think, unfortunately, we need to wait till budget time. That's my opinion.
Well, I've got a comment, and she was doing two jobs, but no one asked her to do two jobs. She took it upon herself to do those two jobs. And then she took it upon herself to pay herself two salaries or two wages, which is illegal.
She did it for 20 years prior to that. She was getting paid at $25 an hour for the extra time for that second position. Then it was pointed out that because she had that and what the laws were, she had to be paid time and a half. She didn't ask for time and a half. She was told they had to pay time and a half. So I am familiar with that, the FMLA, and I can assure you that the FMLA is not to protect employers, it's to protect employees. But it's still it's one of those technical things when the government gets involved that it doesn't apply well to every situation. And
There was nothing
I respect
illegal.
what both the two gentlemen have commented on so far, what you're saying is, but I would disagree on one part, and that is, if there is an injustice, you can cure it. The power is here. Power's not here with me. It's not with the two board members that are here and others that are here to support it. It's with you. Who else but you?
I have a question for that, sir. Can you provide the minutes from the health board's meeting where the board approved the director to continue to do the part-time PHPC position when she assumed the role of director? Can you provide those minutes to us?
Wherever those minutes are, they exist, but I don't have
Because
it.
that's where the conflict started, was when the director position
I
happened.
remember when John Bonds, I've been the attorney for the health department since Bill Province. I don't even know how many years that is, maybe 40, maybe more. And the health board never has been in charge of decisions about, directing who gets paid what. That's you. That determined that. But in that particular instance, I do remember the meeting because John had left. She had always been, and had already done it for a decade, maybe, well, it wouldn't be 20 years at that point, maybe it was 15 or 13. And she just indicated that, there's this position, I've been doing it, I'm happy to keep doing it. And I think at that point in time, she was getting $25 an hour, as I understand it. This wasn't some big money maker, she was getting $25 an hour. So the one thing I will stand up here and argue with you all day long, she never was trying to rake in money. These things happened organically. No, you can't get 25, it's gotta be time and a half. No, you can't be this position, but she just continued it. It wasn't, I would bet it wasn't voted on. I don't think it was. I think it was just a comment. The Board of Health involves 2 doctors, a veterinarian, then our director is a doctor. We have a physical therapist, a very experienced educator. We have Ruth Fries, who is involved in very much, and we also have another nurse, I think Susie Baker's a nurse, right? That's what they do if we have, and a veterinarian. So when there is an issue, we have bats going around and problems, veterinarians right there. We have all these doctors. They do not dictate or micromanage any of the finances. We almost never have I heard us vote on what the salary ought to be.
No, you never would vote on the salary, but you would vote on the description. So I'm gonna try to get this back on the rails here a little bit. So what I would like to clarify, what John has alluded to, John Mallers and also Pamela Burton, is your request for the additional appropriation of $48.92 is based on a WIS salary amount, a suggested midpoint, which you have stated. But that is a number that council may or may not use for 2026. None of our directors are being paid that wage. That is a 2026 proposed wage that council has to determine if we can afford to cover that. What could happen then? If we were to move on this, then we'd have the other 11 or 12 county directors come in and say, well, I want my 2026 with projected salary and I want it mid-year as well. So that's the quandary that we're in. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but you have to make it that way when you're dealing with public funds. We're not a private company. So that is our quandary. So I did want to get that stated to make sure that you are aware that was a 2026 number that we may or may not be able to fund for everyone.
And I see that point, and I think it's a valid point to make. The difference here is there is a grant of, I don't have the number in front of me, but I know all of you saw it before. I do have it actually somewhere under this pile of paper. But it was significant. And that money's being paid to the county, and she's serving that capacity. So in that sense, I would think it's quite doable.
Well, I can say this for the record because this might have been wrong in the newspaper after last month's meeting. And Jonathan T. Myers spoke to this tonight. Council approves salaries by line item, not employee names. I think what Melinda was referring to was this grant is on the state's calendar cycle, so the request would have come in probably in June, May or June, so it was outside of budget time. I also asked 3 former council members with nearly 30 years of combined service if they were aware that the health director was being paid for 2 positions, and they all said no. So the fact that we're in this quandary here today was not by the making of this council. It's something that happened at the health department. And I just wanted to state that for the record. Unless there's any other comments, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Couple things. Number one, I'm curious what the midpoint for 2025 is inside this position. We've got 26. We don't have 25. So that might be a direction we can go. But secondly, we got a consistency issue in my mind. When I came in tonight, I was kind of in the camp of what the direction this is going. And now I'm thinking about our county manager, and I'm thinking about the bookkeeping position, that we basically deviated from our stance earlier this year. And I think we can't pick and choose. We have to pick a lane and stay in it. And I
Right.
don't think we're doing that.
I do have some information to help you with that, John. The average of our current director's positions for 2025 budgeted salary is $85,940.77. So in that case, our health director is already making above average by almost $3,000.
I also have done my research. She's paid very competitive to the Health Department Director of Hamilton County. And Hamilton County is a larger county than ours. She also received a 5% pay raise last year along with the other county employees. She's been given a fair competitive salary for her job title.
Okay, let's stick with, though, back to consistency. We asked for this WIS analysis to be done, and we're hanging our hat on what WIS tells us. And now we're saying we're going to different counties and we're doing.
Well, I can do my own research however I want to do it.
But nevertheless, that's what we said we're going to do is inconsistent with what I'm hearing the direction we're going. Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, I got a question because what I thought was, here was my thinking, and I think Pam said it as well, was just like with the position for the commissioner's administrator, we wanted to keep it. Yeah, do I think she's entitled to a higher salary? Absolutely. Do I think Betsy's entitled to the 99? I do. But our procedure and our standard that we've had under our leadership of Pam the last 2 years was we were going to try to the best of our ability to make these changes during the budget process. And so if 88 is the salary that position had before, I get it, she's doing 2, and I tried last month to keep it at the higher salary, but it's at 88 now. So if we're gonna make a change, I think we make the change in the budget time. Now, how is that different from what you were thinking?
Well, all I'm saying is we're leaving it alone when we had 2 other key positions that we didn't do that on because of apparently what we felt were extenuating circumstances, which I would throw this into that category. My question is, what's the midpoint? Because from 88 to 89, if my number's right, it's about a 12% increase. We're saying the midpoint from 25 to 26 increased 12%? I don't know the answer. That feels high to me.
Well, the midpoint for 2025 salary for that position, for a director's position, is 85,940.
85,
So the number that's being proposed by Mr. Haas is a 2026 number from Wiz. So
that
we're getting
midpoint-
ahead of ourselves. That
Well, but
midpoint
that
would be for
midpoint number,
next
That
year.
doesn't feel right. That midpoint number jumps.
If I may,
Please.
may I speak?
Please.
The conversations that we're having, in my opinion, are budget conversations, not conversations pertaining to a direct request of an individual salary increase, and that's what's on the table at this point. The grant and the funds for the grant, just like the position, are totally separate. This is a request to increase the salary in midstream for our health director, regardless of the reasons, and we've all discussed those. So I think we can talk about this. You know, we can continue to discuss it, but I honestly think that this is a discussion for budget, not for this particular request. So my thoughts would be, and if someone has information pertinent to the exact request, it would be time to take a motion and a vote.
So Pam, I could not agree more with that, except for the fact we had 2 exceptions to that already this year. We deviated from it, is my only point.
Yes, I hear that and I understand it. So that can be either your yes vote, or your no vote, or your non-motion, or however you choose. But you have to take a motion on it, or I would think you would want to take a motion on it. So I don't know, if you have to make a decision on it. You table it, it fails for a lack of a motion or a second, you have to do something with it. I think us just continuing to talk about it is not going to change it.
Are you calling the vote, Pam? Would you like to call the vote?
I think we should call the vote, and if anyone disagrees with that, please speak up.
Do I have a second on that? I have a second by Ron Bates. I have a motion by Pam Burton to call the vote, a second by Ron Bates.
So what are,
So we need to make a
Why
motion.
don't you do a roll call vote? Have Amy do a roll call vote, I would suggest.
Is the motion to keep her salary at its current
Yeah, it's-
level?
It's
Is
to
that the
make a
motion?
motion.
Yes.
Has that been made? Okay.
Make
Has that not been made?
Ron, Bates,
Yes, I will make a motion to keep the health director's salary that currently was approved for the 25 budget.
I have a motion from Pam Burton to keep the salary for the director at the 2025 approved rate
Well, this year.
for this year. Do I have a second?
Already seconded.
Oh, Pam was the motion, I'm sorry, and Ron Bates was the second. Any further discussion? Should we do a roll call vote, Amy?
Ron Bates,
Yay.
John Dittmers,
Nay.
Shelley Griggs,
Yay.
Pam Burton. Pam,
Pam?
Pam?
I think it's frozen.
Yep, she looks frozen.
Uh-oh.
Haven't come back to her.
Yeah.
John Mallers,
Aye.
Hello, I'm sorry, I lost everybody for a moment. Where are we?
Pam, what's your vote?
Lost her again.
Melinda Griesmer,
Aye.
John Myers.
Yes.
Are you back, Pam?
Looks like she's.
Can you hear me?
What's your vote?
Hello?
What's your vote?
My vote, I made the motion, so my vote would be, I'm lost. I'm confused. Where are we? Are we doing a roll call vote? My vote is yes to keep the salary the same.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Up next is Cume Bridge Highway.
Luke has 2 minutes. Is that right?
Good luck.
2 minutes per item? Sure. Luke Maston, Highway Supervisor. Several items on the agenda. Some of them are related to other of my items on the agenda. So you can do this by fund or do it all at once. Which would you prefer?
I think it's a great presentation. I wish we had more like this.
Yeah, well done.
Since this is my first night of this, let's just do them each separately
Okay,
and try not to be redundant in some of the sharing of the information.
I will do my best.
Thank you, sir.
Coaching point.
So item 5 is additional appropriation for a Bridge 98 project. This is specifically for the construction inspection of that project, the local portion. Further down the agenda, the federal portion is another item. So this project is in Needham Township and actually will be starting construction very soon.
Will there be any road closures?
Yes, there will be. The project's located on 700 East. Unfortunately, that gets quite a bit of traffic. It will be closed between Upper Shelbyville Road, 100 North, and 350 North, which is in the town of Needham. So we apologize in advance for that, but it will be much safer when we're done.
Here you go.
Any further questions for?
I'd move to approve line item 5.
Second.
I I have a motion from John Dittmers and a second from Jonathan T. Myers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item C6, Cume Cap Development, Highway.
So item 6A is our additional appropriation for our Bridge 85 project. The bulk of this is for the right-of-way acquisition, which is getting ready to start. There is an additional smaller amount included here for some additional preliminary engineering hydraulic data that we needed to provide for our permitting. Items 6B and C, those are two bridges on Clark School Road in conjunction with another item under item 7 that are being designed and will be constructed together. These are federal aid projects. We are in the design phase. We're getting ready to start the right-of-way acquisition phase on those. So this additional appropriation for B and C, technically they're two different projects, but it's all part of the same project that we're developing. Item 6D is an additional appropriation for our Bridge 56 project in Union Township. There was some additional environmental documentation that our engineer was required to provide in order for the environmental document approved. So that's what constitutes that additional appropriation.
Any questions for Luke?
I move to approve C6, items A, B, C, and D.
Second?
I have a motion by Ron Bates and a second by Jonathan T. Myers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7 is our local road and street fund, two additional appropriation requests. The first is the local portion of a community crossings grant that we were awarded for construction this summer. This is for deep milling, paving of several roads in White River Township. We've had pretty good success with that on some other projects we've done there. This is the local portion of that project. The last item on the agenda is the state portion, that is the grant funds. And then, as I discussed a little earlier, 7B is for the road portion of our Clark School project. It's related to items 6B and C, those two bridges, and I'll not be redundant.
Thank you. And I just want to thank you for giving us the detail on all these separately. I think if anyone is tuning in to watch, or if there's a report in the newspaper, just shows how the county and the council is working to do what we can with the money that we have to repair our roads and streets. So, any questions on C7 for Luke?
Motion?
Motion by Jonathan T. Myers.
Second.
Second by John Mallers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item C8.
8 is an additional appropriation in our MVH fund. This would actually be a new line item, a service agreements line item we did not have previously. As we've had software agreements come up in the past, I've kind of just paid them from places that made sense, but as we're joining the 21st century, it made sense to go ahead and create a new line item for that moving forward. So included in this is, I believe there was a description in your memo, but software related to better accident report data. In addition to that, a new permitting module that should improve and provide some additional online payment and permitting options for applicants. And then potentially some software we've been looking at with the Sheriff's Department that provides both speed and traffic count data.
I did have a question on this one, Luke. So the software that you're purchasing, will these be, amounts be an annual basis? Is this a one-time basis where the county owns it? What kind of future expenses are we looking for?
This line item will be in the budget moving forward. So these are all subscription-based services, just about everything is anymore. So in the budget for 2026, I'll be adding this line item in with an estimate of what those fees will be for next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think these things are needed. It's getting so difficult. You're managing so many things with these, especially right-of-way acquisitions and things of that nature, so on for it. I'd make a motion to approve line item 8, County Highway 1176.
Second.
I have a motion from Jonathan T. Myers, a second from Ron Bates. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion carries.
Item 9 is an additional appropriation for our 144 and Morgantown intersection project that's being built this summer. This project is a 50-50 collaboration with the town of Bargersville under our interlocal impact fee agreement. The appropriation amount is to finish the right-of-way acquisition, which there was only one parcel, as well as the contract amounts for construction and for inspection.
So is this just the county's half, or?
This is the total under that interlocal agreement. If we move forward with a project, whoever's jurisdiction that project is in manages the project. Since these roads are in Bargersville, but are on our road inventory, we have managed the development of the project. So we've handled the contracting as well. Bargersville will provide us with their 50%. So this portion, this dollar amount is the total, it's the 100%.
So we could potentially see half of that come back?
We will.
To the county?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And just question, I know when I started as treasurer in 2017, we were buying some properties, you had some closings. Would that by any chance be for this project?
That would definitely be for this project.
9 years ago, wow.
Yes. We implemented the impact fee and then we had to wait for it to accumulate some funding, but finally we're getting that built, so.
Well, thank you.
Is that a single or a double lane
A
roundabout?
single lane.
Any other questions for Lou?
No, I'd move to approve item 9, C9.
Second.
I have a motion from John Dittmers, a second from John Mallers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10 is a new reimbursement fund for our Bridge 98 line item. This is in conjunction with the appropriation that was item 5. So this new line item in the 8,000 series is the federal portion of that inspection contract.
Hey, Luke, in your explanation on that, you're talking about, I think, tracking federal reimbursements and that sort of thing?
Yes.
As being part of this?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So we had to change several years ago, and this is a State Board of Accounts requirement. Prior to that, I would appropriate 100% of the, in this case, the inspection contract, even though were federal dollars coming back. We would pay those invoices, then we submit for reimbursement after each invoice, and that money would be receipted into the fund that we paid it from. In order to better facilitate and help track those federal receipts, we now create a new line item in the 8,000 series for federal aid and the 9,000 series for state funding. And then we split payment of an invoice based off of whatever the federal or state participation percentage is. So each invoice there are 2 checks cut. One would be from our Item 5, our Cume Bridge Fund, or Highway Bridge in the general fund. And the second would be from this line item as well. So it complicates payment a little more, but it does make tracking where we stand and how many reimbursements are outstanding a little bit easier.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Luke on C10?
Move to approve C10.
Second.
I have a motion from John Dittmer, a second by Ron Bates. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And item 11 is the community crossings grant that we were awarded that I mentioned up in 7A. So this is in the 9,000 series. This tracks the state 50% reimbursement for that project and is where we pay those state funds from.
Is that going to be reduced in the future, the crossing grants?
Yes. So there have been 2 calls for those community crossings grants each year. We have typically gone after the second call each year. That works out pretty well with getting the contract underway in time to do construction the next year. So this award is something that we actually applied for, I believe, last summer. Now that community crossings fund or funding available changes with the House Bill 1461 changes. There will be, I think, a cap of $100 million that will be shared among all locals that apply. We were told that there would not be a second call this year. So we had some projects lined up that we had planned to apply for. Understandably, I think NDOT is trying to figure out what that program looks like with the changes in the funding. So I'm not sure if they'll go to 1 call per year or if they'll do 2 small calls per year. We're still waiting to find out. But unfortunately, there will be less money in that program.
Motion to approve item 11.
Second.
I have a motion from Jonathan T. Myers, a second by Ron Bates. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
very
Luke.
much. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
On our highway meetings that we've had, the last thing that we talked about was splitting the bonding between a couple things and having a bonding for Smith Valley and I believe for the Leisure Lane Bridge and the roundabout at Fairview.
Yeah.
Are we waiting on the fiscal information from Reuter to do something on that, or where does that stand? Because I see that Fairview's having closings. I'm assuming it's for that.
The railroad bridge strikes.
Yeah. Oh, it's for the railroad.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so it's not for.
It's been getting hit by semi trucks.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did a presentation earlier in the year about bonding and kind of the overall dollar amount that we were potentially looking at being able to fund with our edit and general fund revenue. But my advice at the time was to wait to see what kind of impact Senate Bill 1 would have. In some conversations that we've had with some of our financial people, we think we could move forward with smaller bonds rather than one big bond, potentially staggered. So I think right now we're looking at something less than half of what we talked about before. That particular bond requires some collateral to be raised, which would be our other public improvements. So in that process right now is waiting on me to finalize how much all of our roads and bridges are worth, to provide that then to determine that yes, we have the bonding collateral to cover that.
Okay.
Luke, I have a question.
Yes.
From a high level view, holding you to nothing, what time frame are we at now? I just hate to see this get pushed in to next year again. You know, And I know with SB1, our hands are kind of tied, but I just don't want to kick this can much longer. So what are your thoughts?
The schedule right now is to put a bond in place this year, by the end of the year. So we have a kind of a schedule outlined in order to meet those dates. So I mean, we're moving forward. Again, it will be a much smaller bond than what we talked about, but at least we'll get one underway that will let us get started on some of those other projects.
So before the end of the year, then you think?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to D, other business. We have, should I take these separately, Tiffany, or should,
I think you could take them together.
We can take
They're all
these
just the
together?
approvals, yeah.
so we have
Well,
one?
you have 1 and 2 that, they're for different things. One is for the Umbarger, 1 and 2 are Umbarger and Sons, but one's for their real property and personal property. Sonico, I guess is it? That's a completely different entity, but you're approving 3 CF1s, so I don't have a problem if you approve them as presented.
Okay, I would like to, in the essence of time, combine D, 1, 2, and 3. These are approval of Form CF-1s. And if you could help me out, Tiffany, I know it relates to our tax abatement program for the unincorporated areas of Johnson County. Could you help explain just exactly for the public what it is that we are approving?
So the council was presented with their 2025 state forms, and then attached to the state forms are also the ordinances that the county council, I believe in 2018, was the initial approval of these tax abatements. So the purpose today is just to show that you have reviewed it. This is 2018, 2019. So the council has reviewed them and are in agreement with the continuing abatement. They are abiding by the original agreement presented and approved by the council at that time.
So who is it reviewing, like the number of employees when it comes around again? And when does it come around again, these two?
This is every year that they have to present these. So this has been presented to you guys for this year, so it was for your review.
Okay, so I have no problem at all with the Umburgers. And just to report here, they've got 44 employees retained in the one, and I think 28 in the other. So, I mean, they're a great value to the community. And, but I was kind of interested, are we upholding them or are we holding them to the numbers of employees? And does that affect how we approach this in the future?
I guess I don't understand your question. Are you asking, are they in compliance, or are you asking?
Yeah, I know you.
If I can just give a little information here, I believe at the point that the CF1 gets for our approval, it has already gone before their attorneys and financial advisors and things to make sure that the promises have been met and fulfilled. And that at that point is when it comes to us after it's submitted. Amy could probably tell you a little more on that, but I believe when it gets to us that the process of checking all those numbers have been complete by the powers that be. It's submitted into, I think, Gateway or it's their financial advisors. I forget exactly who it is, but it has been reviewed.
Well,
If that helps any.
haven't seen this go through in another community, and some of them fall out.
Yeah.
Want to make sure that we're
So
watching.
We don't review it. I mean, you can't, it's for you all to look at all these. That's why in the packet, it's presented that way to show you, here's what it is, here's what it means you agree. So it's for you all to just make sure it feels like that was the spirit of what the council was asking.
Okay. Do we know what, Tiffany, we know what year the abatement is that this one is approving for?
It's for this year.
Just for the first year?
No. You
Well,
guys
this year
think
goes what year of the abatement? I think they're all 3 7-year abatements.
It started in 2019, Ron. I don't know what the
Yeah.
amount of time
It'll be
is.
different for each one.
That's what
I
Yeah,
think
so
one's
we-
a 10-year.
Umbarger is a 10-year.
10, 7.
We're in second 4.
before.
Okay.
Okay,
I think Sonico was a little different because,
I'm sorry, 25 through 26 is 5.
You're 5 out of 10.
So we're
Okay.
halfway there.
And there's one, I think that's a 7-year.
Sunoco is 7. I pointed out that for whatever reason, are granted a real and a personal, never seen CF1 for personal last 2 years.
yeah, this was the first one. Yeah.
It seemed like we should maybe
They did
approve,
real, but they never did personal.
we should approve that, with a caveat that we need to hear back from them on that particular.
Well,
Oh.
the auditor's office has not given them an abatement on their personal property.
That's my next question.
Okay. Thank you.
And so Sunoco sold, right? The company sold. That does not violate anything inside the resolution as far as change in company title and
Owners,
chain?
submitted to,
Okay.
under Sunoco's name?
yeah, they just changed, April 1st. In your, did I give you guys a copy of the email?
April 1st.
So we're approving the acceptance of these forms, is that correct? Okay. All right,
Motion to approve.
motion to approve from Jonathan T. Meyer.
So do I need to do both of these separately or? Do all three? Okay, for all three of the CF1 for approval from the council.
Second.
I have a motion from Jonathan T. Myers, a second from Ron Bates. Any further discussion? None being heard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. E, old and new business. Item number 1, E1, is approval of outside legal counsel. Pam, would you like to add anything to that before we get started?
Just a recap on what we've had discussed several times in public meetings, for the last, starting last year and through this year, it was decided that we would hire someone to represent council if in fact it were ever needed. And X amount of dollars were discussed, and we've gone through the interviewing process and the advertising process and the individual meeting with the ones individual and then meeting as a group for interviews, and our selections was narrowed down to 3. And of those 3, I believe after months of investigation, we're at the point now prepared to make a final vote on who we would choose to be our outside council representative. So I do not have the official names in front of me, so Michelle or our legal team there can take over at this point. I was under the impression that we wanted to do an individual recommendation to make sure that everyone had the opportunity to recommend. I'm not sure how the process is, but I think Tiff can walk you through that.
Sure. So just to be clear, council, I think started this conversation, like you said, in 2024. This is not to use outside counsel on a daily basis or for routine matters. This is to use outside counsel for anything that is exceptional. Is that everyone's understanding?
Yes.
Okay. I do believe we had three attorneys who made it through to the final phase of our interview cycle. One being Peter King, one being Michelle Harder, and one being Samantha DeWester. So at this time, I will accept nominations. Each council member may only nominate one person. everyone will get a chance, an opportunity to nominate. Your nomination does require a second to move forward. With that being said, I'll start to my left with Jonathan T. Myers. Nominations are open for outside counsel.
So I'd like to nominate Peter Campbell King.
Second.
Okay, so we, Jonathan T. Myers, second by John Dittmers. Okay. Miss Melinda?
Michelle Harder.
Do I have a second for that nomination? Okay,
I'll go with John Myers' nomination.
okay. Mr. Dittmers?
I seconded John's motion
Oh, you
for
sure
Peter
did.
King, so I'll
Stick with that. That's it. Mr. Bates?
I would like to nominate Peter King.
Okay. We already have a nomination for that. Do we need another second? Okay. I am going to lean on our legal team to help guide me. So now everyone has made their nominations.
Except for you.
And me.
Oh, Pam, I'm sorry. Your nomination turn, please, go.
I support Peter King.
Okay. We already have a second for that, and I'm leaning towards Peter King as well. So now that everyone's had an opportunity to nominate, we need to vote, don't we? Roll call vote, please. And actually, we didn't get a second for Michelle Harder, so the only candidate that we're voting on at this time is Peter Campbell King for outside representation as needed. Roll call vote, please, Amy.
Jonathan Myers,
Aye.
Linda Griesmer,
Aye.
John Mallers,
Aye.
Pamela Burton,
Pam?
Pam,
Pam?
your turn to vote.
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. We will get with, when our president is back in town, we'll get with our legal department here and start taking the necessary steps to engage Mr. Peter Campbell King as our outside counsel for county council in those extreme times that we need a second opinion.
Madam Vice President.
Oh.
I just wanted to thank all the people very, very fine candidates, all. And I think that comes from all of us. I'll speak for.
Yes, especially me. I had the opportunity to speak with all of them. They were all equally qualified and very honored that they would consider working with us.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to E2, which is an update on the Opioid Advisory Board Grant Program, and I think that's Mrs. Pam Burton.
Yeah. I attended my first opioid meeting. Remember, I tried to strong arm John into going. And to be honest with you, I was a little surprised at everything that was going on. So I had gotten with Taylor and asked her to write me a synopsis of that meeting because I asked them to bring me up to date. So I have that in front of me, and this is just information that I'm going to relay to you. It's needed for nothing other than to bring you up to date, and you all already may know as this, and you may not. But anyway, the County Remediation Grant Program Advocacy Board is considered the Opioid Advisory Board. And this board was originally appointed by the commissioners. And on May 14th, we discussed opening a new round of grant opportunities for local organizations, promoting evidence-based prevention, treatment, recovery, harm reduction, behavioral health, work enforcement, jail treatment, recovery, residences, and other services and initiatives permitted by the National Opioid Settlement. All the municipalities in the county, other than Greenwood, who opted not to join the other municipalities, combined their respective funds to be distributed through the Opioid Advisory Board. In 2024, the Opioid Advisory Board provided over $200,000 in grants to organizations providing the aforementioned services to Johnson County residents. Funding is distributed as a reimbursement following the submission of an invoice or paid receipt. This committee met to discuss a new round of funding, which will open on June the 1st and close on June the 30th. There will be a public meeting on July 23rd at 10 a.m. and for the Opioid Advisory Board to hear presentations from all of the applicants for this year. The committee will then make a recommendation regarding grant awards and the commissioners meeting at the end of July. The board will then bring it to the council. So I just, there was a lot of information there I didn't know. I didn't realize all the programs that and the amount of money we had. And, you know, this program is expected to go, I think someone said for 10 years and, you know, $200,000 to Johnson County residents for those type of things I was very impressed. So the meeting went well, and I hope to keep everyone up to date on the progress and what's going on in our county where that's concerned.
Thank you very much, Pam. That was lots of information to process. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for what you're doing, Pam.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed it. And I got free homemade cookies.
Win. Our last order of business is E3, and it's a discussion about whether we need to hold a special meeting to receive an update of the fiscal plan / 2026 budget information from Mike Reuter. And Pam, I think you and Amy Thompson have been in communications with Mike.
Yeah. And Amy can take it over. She has the information as well. But from what I understand, there is a seminar from the Department of Local Government and Finance that will be done on the 18th. And Mike feels that he needs to go through that seminar before he can completely present the information properly. And his first available date for presentation, I believe, is on the 25th. And I understand that some of us may have a conflict with that, but the only other date he had was after, I believe, sometime in July, and that takes us 2 weeks past where we need to be on budget. So everybody just needs to talk about it. You know, I understand I can rearrange my schedule, and I understand others may not be able to, but I just don't know that we have any other option but to go ahead and call the joint meeting on the 25th, unless Amy has heard anything or has anything to add from what I've seen.
She's shaking her head no. So the date that we should discuss tonight is June the 25th. And I'm assuming that would be an evening meeting, Pam, like say 5 o'clock?
That's on a Wednesday, Michelle. I'm like you. I assume 5, 6 o'clock to give everybody the opportunity and the chance to be there. And I need you guys to also think about it being a joint meeting. I'm sure the commissioners will be there regardless. I think if it's a joint meeting, it will be a little more official on both sides if we all have questions.
Okay, so what do we need to do tonight then, Tiffany? Just vote and agree on the date and time?
I mean, you guys can hold it regardless. Commissioners keep their own schedules, so I would have to ask them about availability.
Okay.
It would have to be a public meeting. That's not an executive session allowance. So once we know, you would call a special meeting. I think we only need 48 hours, but there's plenty of time. We'd have to advertise it, set it out. So We can send an email tomorrow to get availability and, hopefully they can be there.
So just, tonight, fellow council members, how does everyone look on the 25th? Can the majority of us make a meeting in the evening?
Yes, and could we just make a placeholder here tonight? Just
Move to approve Wednesday, June 25th at 5 PM
second.
for the special meeting.
All the further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I do. No, I'm an aye, but I have a question.
Yes.
Can this, if some can't, and I will be there, but if it should be that someone can't make it, can they join via Zoom
Yeah.
for that type of meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so that helps everyone a little bit.
That's probably what I'll have to do. I'll be out of town that day, but perhaps I can Zoom in and watch that and have the materials in front of me and follow along without being in person. So the council's good for June 25th. Would you like to firm that up with the commissioners? We can hold a joint special meeting and just communicate with Amy and Pam and all the above.
All right.
All
So
right.
it's at 5 PM, correct?
It's what we're gonna hope for.
Okay,
Yes.
just making sure.
Kenny. Motion to dismiss.
Yes, please. Do I-
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Let's go home. Thank you, everyone.